Hi, everyone. Welcome to Career Conversations. I'm Meera Jogasundram. Our guest today, Shamas Zaman, helps people with reducing the amount of time they waste on social media, binge watching series, playing video games for hours, and being plugged into the matrix, political hysteria, and instead plug into their own lives more. He helps people in moving towards a path of self mastery, becoming more productive, making meaningful connections, getting into great shape, and living their own story rather than being a mere silent character in others' story. Hi, Shamas.
Wow, what an intro. I appreciate the
How are
intro.
you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I feel pumped. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. It's great to have you. And tell us about your career journey.
Well, it's certainly not been, very straight and linear, that's for sure. I think I started off going down a path of accounting. Then I went to I went into tennis coaching. Then I worked in the NHS for a bit, and then I came into business analytics. And somehow I decided that coaching was the path. So it's definitely not your straight and narrow, but I've always been interested in self development. Right, it's always been part of the journey as I've been going to finding who I really am.
So you said somehow you ended up in coaching. Is
Yes.
that right? So I'm
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm curious. How did this somehow work out?
Well, the thing is that I found in my life that I was wondering, why is there so much, like, why am I escaping so much? Why am I not present in my current reality? And what I found was that I was really plugged in to a lot of the virtual world, as I'm sure like people can relate to this, is that I was just so plugged in to other people's stories. I was watching other people's series. I was playing video games all day. I wasn't working that much. I wasn't very into the world at all. And then like I was online thinking, why is there no energy? Like, why am I not feeling any energy? And then I kind of stumbled across a lot of like videos online about, not a lot of videos because not that many people knew what was going on, but there were just a few people that were understanding that there was a problem going on. And then I latched onto them. And then I found a few coaching programs, and they kind of helped me see like, oh wow, I'm really like hyperly like addicted to the stuff, and I need to find a way out. So that's kind of what that introduced me to the coaching world, was like this just constant escaping from the real world.
So it's something that you did and you
Yes.
overcame and you want to
Yes.
help others do it.
Yes. Because I know how much it can like suck to be like plugged in to the virtual world, and you're so desperately wanting to have like, that life, because you watch things, as you watch a character online or you watch a story, there's nothing wrong with it, but you're actually living as if you are that character, right? You want to be the character on the screen, right? Why is it that the action films and there's people with huge muscles and you look at them and think, oh wow, that's exciting? It's because you want to be them. You want to be that person on the screen. When you see that, that very romantic scene in a film, and I don't know, the guy sweeps the girl off the feet or whatever happens, you're like, oh, I want that kind of thing to happen to me, right? So it's all the experiences that we want, and they're all human. And that's why we connect to these things. But if we're always watching someone else living it, then we're not living it.
Absolutely. Why is this important to you?
Well, to me, it's everything. To me, it's like, what it does for me is that I'm able to take my own experiences, and I'm able to relay them out to other people. And then I see other people going through it, and I think I can take these people out of here, and then they become more themselves. They become more productive. They get in better shape. They do better, and they feel more aligned as well. It's like then they find like realizations like, oh, I'm in a career I really don't like. I want to move out. I want to do something I do like. because they're more in tune with themselves. And that's really what I'm trying to teach people, is to become in tune with themselves.
What challenges do you encounter dealing with these heavy scrollers?
Um, I get a spectrum of people. So I get some people that are not the heaviest scrollers. Some people are very heavy scrollers. So there's a lot of different spectrums of people. There's some people that just want to maximize, and they're quite, they're also challenging to work with, but exciting because they've got so many goals. And usually what I found with people like that is that they don't know where to put their energy. They want to do this, they want to do that, they want to do this, but really you need a streamlined vision. You need to work on like one main thing and really crush it. And when it comes to someone like a heavy scroller, they are going to have a lot of narratives, a lot of things in their head. They're going to be overstimulated. It's like if you look at the sun for hours and you think you're going to see the rest of a beautiful room as you've looked into the sun, everything's going to look dull and rubbish. But if you give a bit of time and you look around the room and you're present, you're going to appreciate that beautiful room a lot more, right? Because you're overstimulated. You can't see like the good things in your life. You can't see, the opportunities because you're so overstimulated with dopamine. So the challenge is to wake people up, first of all, because some people don't think it's a problem. And the other challenge is that, some people can get in real despair. Like, I've seen people that I've worked with that are just, they're so down, right? They're so down and out and they're lost. And the internet's not a kind place to people who are lost. It's going to keep feeding you stories of people who are lost, and it's going to send you music that of people of sad music. Then you're going to play a character of the sad kind of guy. And there's a memes and stuff of a sad person. It's called a doomer. And this is an isolated individual, and people can identify with these characters online because they have an identity then, right? And the artificial kind of character that you see, you identify very strongly with, and that can create a very, very difficult time for people, and then they can't reach their potential.
How do you make them see that they are indeed facing a problem?
It's a tough question, right? How do you show like the fish it's in water, right? Sometimes the fish has no idea that there's a shark in water or something. It's just, going along. But then you take them out and you show them the real world. You open their eyes for the first time, and it's so different, right? And you open them to this world of what the media really is and what's really going on. Like the social media companies, they're not all evil, and there's not all evil people in them, but they've used mechanics from gambling to be very addictive, right? So the social media companies studied gambling and they learned how to push people's buttons. So you're not in control of what's going on, right? And when, for example, politics, right? We'll probably talk about this more. But let's say I have a strong political view in a certain direction, and the algorithm knows this, and it's going to feed me lots and lots of videos of that. And it's not going to give me a nuanced opinion. It's going to be, okay, hate the other side and love this side. Because why does that why do I as a social media company want to do that? Well, because I can create division, and I can also make a lot more passion into those posts. I can get more money because you're going to watch more and more of those videos, right? And I think people want to sell division because it makes people easier to control.
That's interesting. How do you suggest one can exercise some form of control during scrolling?
Well, I think intentionality is very important. Like, what are you doing when you're scrolling? Like, are you intentionally having downtime? Because that's very different. Like, if you have intentional downtime and you know what you like, I think that's completely fine, right? I think having rest, enjoying, the internet for what it is great. But it's just when you're not intentional and you're an autopilot. And I think the worst form of scrolling is when you use it to escape emotion regularly. So if you're really upset and your go-to is always to scroll, and you're doing it for an uncontrollable length of time, that's when it becomes a problem. I think I think it also, to help people overcome this, if they have a really big problem with it, they need a detox. So they need time away from their given escape. I think they typically need like, there's a book called Dopamine Nation, which speaks a lot about this. That she and Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport as well. So these are two great books if people ever want to learn more about this. But they suggest about 30 days away from a chosen escape. I typically think you probably need longer if you're very hooked onto something, because they say that it takes 53 days to build a habit, but I think it takes longer if you really want to push it. And I think for a very deep habit, you need a lot of time away, but you also need to put things in that you enjoy. So the big mistake that people make is that they try and go monk mode and they try and quit everything. So they'll quit, social media, or they'll quit everything, and they get really depressed because they're doing too much at once, right? I think you need to choose one big escape, and you have to add things in that you enjoy. So you have to like incorporate healthy things like going for a walk, going to the gym slowly, or improving your diet, going to bed on time. All these things matter if you're going to live this kind of lifestyle where you're taking more intentional usage in terms of social media.
What has the response been like so far when you coach clients?
It's been interesting. Like, it's been, some people absolutely love it. Like, they're just so into the work. Sometimes I've noticed some people get a bit down because they realize they have a problem, and I think that's very normal, because that's the same reaction I had. Like, I was like, oh my God, I really got this problem. Like, God, that sucks. I must be the only one, right? But you'll be surprised how many people have deep problems about these things. And I think once we kind of admit that we have that, and then we can do something about it, that's when we're closer to solving the problem. I think the issue is that initial step, that kind of push to keep going. And that can be really difficult, but it's a real mixed bag. Some people are just, I think the concepts that I teach is what really gets people excited, because there's the first time they've learned some of this stuff. And it's like the first time I learned some of the stuff my mentor taught me. It just opened my eyes, right? And there's just some stuff that I've learned, you know, after some of the books I've read, some of the things I found out that, have changed me forever. And I don't think I'll ever be the same. So those are the stuff that I'm going to be sharing with people, and then my own experiences as well.
How would you handle someone, or how would you deal with someone who is adamant on staying on the net,
Yeah.
giving 1,000 reasons to stay on the net?
Yeah.
It's my work, it's my investment, it's my
Mm,
education, whatever.
yeah.
How would you deal with such a person?
I think that's a great thing, because what I'm not suggesting we live in caves and we remove our online presence, but I am suggesting that you are very intentional in your energy, right? So if the person, like you said, is using it for work, they're not a consumer, they're a producer, right? If you're a heavy consumer, but you're not producing anything, you're not putting your impact out there, then you're just a puppet, I think. Like, if you're constantly like, someone sends you a deal online, right? And they give you a deal, and every second you think, "Oh my God, I need this deal." But there's no conscience, there's no like self-awareness around that I'm being kind of played here. Then it's a problem. But if it's someone who's, intentionally like spending hours a day like looking through their investment portfolio, and they're, building their business, and they're building their brand, or even doing very intentional recreation online, that's not a problem at all. I'd say go for it, go full steam ahead, but don't neglect the real world either, right? The artificial intelligence is just trying to recreate the world, it's trying to recreate a person, right? We're the most like human things. If you see the film Blade Runner, I don't know if you've ever seen that film, but it's a very, very interesting film about artificial intelligence, about humanity. And the premise of the film is that this character is trying to find his humanity in a dystopian world. The world has gone very disconnected. Nobody talks to each other. Nobody looks at each other. And this character, all he wants is that human connection. And that's very telling. And that's going to be what is going to happen in the future is more and more people are going to want this deep connection. And that's what I think we're going to go towards. We're going to find people that, oh, something's not quite right. And then they start talking to people again. It's like, oh, suddenly feel better. I wonder why.
Do you think while producing, your work or content on the internet, there is a likelihood of falling into the trap of consuming lots of
Mm.
unwanted stuff?
Well, this is a good question again, but hopefully I should be good at this now. Is that I have my techniques, right? I have my ways of filtering what I need to put in. And I try to remember that I try and use, like, let's say I have mentors or I use videos or I watch content. I try to see them as influence, not as me living their story. Right. So when I watch a documentary or I watch someone, I'm not thinking I am winning with him. No, I'm using some of the stuff that applies to my own story, right? I don't think like, oh my God, like, did you hear what that scandal that character got through? Like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to him or her, right? I kind of think, well, how can I use that as inspiration if I need to? If I'm getting too pulled into it, I'll notice it. I'll be like, I need to probably step back from this now. But I have a lot of like tools that I give to my clients about how to be able to, block the feed, how to be able to, you know, build that self awareness to be able to be like, okay, habit replacement. I feel like I'm getting pulled into social media right now and it's not productive. Let's go for a walk and talk about it. That can be a very effective strategy. And if I feel like, oh, I just want to like connect, right? I'm using social media to connect with people. Well, there's a good way of connecting as well. I can message someone on my WhatsApp and let's go, grab a coffee or let's have a call or do something a little bit more personal. So it's dealing with the pain that you feel that you're looking to solve with social media as well. That can also help.
Do you find that these these groups or this group of heavy scrollers, they
Mhm.
belong to a certain gender, a certain age group?
Mm, that's a very
Did
good
did you
question.
make any observations like that?
Well, there's very many different things that people use social media for, right? So guys can use it for different things, women can use it for different things. So I mean, from these are just my observations, but I found that Instagram's more female dominated, and no, by slightly, not like I think it's 55%, and I think YouTube is very male dominated. Um, and I'm not really sure why that is. I know TikTok is a younger demographic. I know Facebook is a slightly older demographic. So I know Pinterest is its own complete thing, and there's lots of different and niche communities like Discord are very like edgy communities where it's like more gamer communities, right? So there's many different people that use it for different things. Now it depends on the problems. Like if we're talking about problems, I'd say that probably guys probably have more of a problem with gaming than women. And I'd say that women maybe like some of the problems with Instagram is just body image as well. It's like, oh, I see this like beautiful woman online, and I think it makes me feel insecure about myself, right? And I think that's something that, and then women want to look like the lady that has loads of likes, so they'll maybe change themselves to look like that lady. And this can go to a very deep level, right? So it's like cosmetics and really trying to change their body, and just not happy with themselves. Or it could be, like I said, you can use it in a good way too. You can get inspired and and do it that way as well. But it just depends. It's such a crazy spectrum, right? I just know that guys just have like a problem with like gaming and like you know, videos, and on they spend more time on that kind of stuff, like on videos on YouTube, and I just feel like women are more attracted to like photos and things. But that's just what vague observations there.
Thanks for your vague and very interesting observations, but I actually meant to ask from your clientele.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
what
for
what are
my
your observations? From
Yeah.
the people
So
you have dealt with, maybe not as clients, but you have
yeah.
come into contact with, and your
No,
clients as well.
no, for my clients is that kind of stuff, right? So like it's for my clients, like I'd say I've coached women, I've coached with men as well. Like it, everybody's going through different problems with online stuff. Like guys typically seem to be quite bothered about status in terms of like they might see a character right online. I'll give you an example. Like let's say Andrew Tate, right? And he's very influential, and he's very influential now because men seem to be losing touch with their masculinity. They're not sure what their masculinity is supposed to be in this modern world, and they're trying to find a way to kind of express it. And
Could I interrupt, please, just
yeah,
to probe a little further?
good.
What do you mean by they are losing their masculinity?
Well, they seem to be losing their ability to kind of push through difficult goals, or their ability to just connect to their male side a bit. Like it that them like there is this kind of quietness of this side now. It seems that men are kind of told in a different way to be more vulnerable or be softer. And I think this stuff is actually good in some ways, but there's some ways it can actually weakens a guy who wants to be very assertive and dominant and strong. And he looks for that figure and that father figure that he's missing in the world, right? And I think that father figure voice is really missing in today's society. That's why people like Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate have really taken off with their message to like young men in particular. And I feel like that is what guys are looking for. And I feel like they escape online when they don't find their like meaningful goals. And I feel like they're directionless then. And I think I don't know if it's more than half of like guys are dropping out of college or something. It's like a crazy stat like that. Like they're losing their direction because they're just not like catered for in university properly. And I felt that a little bit at uni as well. I felt like there was a bit of a push out and a rebellion. And I think if I had to guess what was going on, this is a very vague thing, but I thought that the society was quite this is going to be a bit woo woo, but it was very yang to start with, right? It was very um like there were moments where men were kind of abusing their power, right? And that there was more issues with men, like very assertive and very, we had nasty moments with guys, right? But what happened, I think there's a pushback in society that's blaming those guys and kind of blaming the current guys. So it's like the guys that weren't really responsible, and they were like, well, it's there, and all guys suck. But I know people, all not all people think like this, and I feel like it kind of, in a good way, like we're getting more conscious about the planet, we're becoming more caring, and I feel like that energy is good, but sometimes there's just a drive for that push, and people want to be like really exceptional, and I think guys just have a different kind of energy for that stuff. I'm not saying women can't be exceptional, because obviously they can, but it's just they do gravitate to a father figure.
Coming
That's what
back
I'm
to your
finding.
clients, what you observe.
Yeah, I'm observing that. I'm observing that missing father figure. I'm observing that constantly in everything. And it's not even just men. I think women are also like trying to find their own side of things as well. Like they're trying to look for their I think everybody's looking for meaning. I feel like everybody's looking for meaning. That's the thing. And I think it's difficult because we've got so many options of people telling us what the heck meaning is. Like I've got a guru telling me, okay, this is what you should do, right? And I'm never looking inside. And that's the only place I'm ever going to find it. But every time I go on Google, like we've been programmed to like search Google to find our answers. But there's some answers that cannot be answered with Google. Sometimes you have to look inside, and we need to learn from each other, and you need to learn from people. And I think I've been blessed in a way. Like I had good parents, and that leaves a very big hole in certain people's lives. And I think even though I had great parents, I still had to find a lot of the masculinity stuff on my own. I still had to find this stuff, not just masculinity, but finding myself more. Even even our gentler stuff like self-care is not considered like that. But I had to learn that compassionate side as well, because I was like, okay, let's just go all full force, right? But you need that care as well. And I think that's the motherly side that it comes in as well. I think it's a balance that's required in the universe. And I feel like it it's a bit crazy right now. I feel like instead of unity, we're more divided than ever. It's like them against them. And I wish it was just like a bridge. I wish people worked together, put their differences, aside, and just started working together. We'd be just, and we need to have those uncomfortable discussions. That's what I think needs to happen.
What keeps you going, Shamas?
Well, yeah, that drive for the meaning, right? It's that inner. What I really learned is that everybody has like inherent worth, right? And inherent worth is is just abundant, and it just goes on. And once you like tap into that source, you can just go on like forever, because it's it's unlimited ammo, right? You just keep going, and you recognize that you're worth that effort because you want to just leave something nice behind, right? Like, I've clearly been given a path here. I've been very lucky. There's some people that have really, really tough upbringings, and I have been given like quite a nice one. So like it's just would be shameful to just sit back and not do anything. Like, I don't know if you've heard the story of Francis Ngannou, but he's really inspired me lately because it's this MMA fighter that's come from Africa. He was just working in the mine, like working in some sort of sand like gathering thing. He was like broke. His parents told him he can't do anything. Then he like wins like an MMA title, like, and like moves to like America, and like, and then he beats like like, in my opinion, like he lost the fight, but he beats like a heavyweight champion in boxing to go from MMA to boxing. Like, the guy's just a hero, right? And that makes me think like anything's possible. Like, these people can do crazy things. Like, I should definitely push my potential. Like, why not just reach it?
You are helping this niche
Yeah,
presently. What's your vision for this niche, or
yeah,
maybe a slightly different one? I don't
yeah.
know. It really
Mhm.
depends on what your plans are. What's your vision for the future?
I really want like to really build a community, and I want to build a community where people are like tracking their productivity time, like saying I worked like 5 hours a day on my project. People like posting like body transformations from like quitting like, you know, I don't know, Instagram for a while, and they just like suddenly start like going to the gym and they just get in insane shape. They go on some sort of like spiritual quest, or they just, you know, go for that job promotion because they've just made that extra time in their head. Those, like, I want that. Like, I want that in my community. I want like people just like posting wins. I want those really engaging, deep conversations like in my calls. Like, I want people to just, blow my mind. I want people to keep like going deeper, and even getting the people that are really struggling to, to give them a light, because I think the world can get very dark when you're isolated. I think that's the most difficult time for people, and I feel like if they just have a direction, they can do like great things. And that's, I think everybody needs to aim big. And I don't like this. I'm seeing it now. I have a different direction to it now. It's like kind of like making people play small. I'm seeing that a lot. Like, and I do think you should be compassionate and, you know, um, like kind to yourself, but I don't like this playing small stuff. I've seen people like, oh, I saw a post that kind of bugged me a bit. It was like, oh, just, you'll not be like that guru, like that. That's only like a one in a whatever million kind of. And I said, no, forget that kind of thinking. Like, be that person if you want to be that person. There's nothing stopping you from being that person. And if you get a setback, just come back stronger, right? I think these people just kept coming again and again and again and again. Like, I was just speaking to my mentor just before this actually, and he was saying like, what was it? Dwayne the Rock Johnson started in a car. J.K. Rowling, like, she got rejected, like, for her books. They thought they were a bit rubbish. Like, well, they were wrong. You have to push through resistance. That's just the way it is. And I think pushing through resistance gets easier if you love yourself. If you don't love yourself, then it's going to be harder to push through resistance, because you're just going to make it yourself a piece of property. And even if you get the thing, you're gonna want more because you're empty inside anyway.
What a beautiful thing to see. Love yourself. It all stems from that, right?
Hmm.
Everything that you do and achieve in life. Why is this vision, this bigger vision that you just described, why is it so important to you?
Because it not only does it keep me accountable, right? Because when I speak about the work, it keeps me on the mission as well. Because you need to be bigger. Like, I need it to be bigger, because it's not just about me. It's about this spreading, like, even like when it's a smaller community, like I'm building, like, this is I'm in the beginner stages, but even like one person like telling me like, wow, I just this just completely changed my mind, like changed my life. And I'm like, yes, this is why I do this. Right. Because I feel like the main issue is that your emotions are at war with your head. Right. Your emotion, the people are fighting their emotions, and they're fighting for acceptance from like fighting for acceptance in the world, but they have to first have acceptance with themselves, and then they just project it, right? And then you can just project it, and then the world will test you to see if you're really about it. So it'll give you challenges like, okay, do you really like care about yourself? We're going to test you. I'm going to hit you with something really hard now. Okay, I'm going to hit you with a, I don't know, with a breakup. I'm going to hit you with a job security issue. I'm going to hit you with one of your best clients has decided he's not going to come on anymore. He's going to move on. Like, that's just a test of how bad you want it. um, I think.
Another very powerful statement, Shamas, to accept yourself unconditionally. That is so important. And that's truly a test of your resilience.
And
What's
it
your
and
def-
it's
No,
Go
tell
ahead,
me.
go ahead.
No, no, it's
No,
okay.
I was just saying that, like, it's so big, like, because a lot of my life was a lot of like trying to fill a void, right? You need to get things in order to please people, or you need to be a certain way to please people. I think that was a big part of it. I was like always like people pleasing, or I was a bit of a joker in school. Like, I used to like, doing like being a bit of a loudmouth and just, joking around. But it was really like I wanted people to like me, right? So desperately, but I didn't like myself. Right. I wasn't a big fan. Like, I was, oh, I don't really like this guy. And then now I was like, okay, no, I like this guy. This guy like does things that I enjoy. Like, he gives himself space. Like, he gives himself good rest. He treats himself well, and then he goes after it when he needs to go after it, and he's doing something he enjoys. So creating that inner connection is just so important, because everything else just kind of flows a lot easier from that place. And a lot of people think that you need to go around like a block or around a problem to solve it, but really the best gift to yourself is to solve the thing in front of you. Very often, like, people think, oh, why is like like I'm not making progress, or something's not going right. It's usually because there's some big block that you're avoiding that's in the way. And it's usually that you're a bit afraid of it because it's going to tap into your soul or something. And that's usually where the problem is. Like, a lot of people don't want to look within themselves because they're a bit scared, because it's not been touched in a long time, and it's a bit like a messy room, like a really really messy room, and you're going to have to spend time cleaning it up. But this is like a continuous process, and as you keep cleaning that room, then eventually you want to just play in the room. You're like, oh yes, I'm back here, I'm back home, right? And but life does keep messing up the room, and you have to keep cleaning it up.
I'm not sure. I'm so engrossed in your response. I can't remember if I asked you this question. What's your definition of owning your career?
um I think like living it, like, all in, all in. Like, you just go for the ambitious, all in, top of the bill, whatever you want. Like, I want to be like, the top of my niche. I don't want to just be like another player in it. Like, I think owning your career is wanting to be the best at it. And I think, but everybody's definition differs, right? Like we spoke about, like what success means. But I really think it means owning like your own legacy on it, or what you want to leave behind. And I really think, I believe in the all in approach, right? If you're going to do a career, and you just go all in, or don't do it. Like, as in, are you like in love with the job? Like, really, right? And if you're not in love with it, are you providing a life for people you love? Maybe that can also be an approach. Like, some people maybe do jobs they don't necessarily like, but because they care so much about their family, that it gives them enough meaning. But it has to, in my opinion, it has to give you meaning. Like, if it doesn't give you meaning, then that's not owning your career. Then you're owning a status badge. Like, let's say a lot of people get careers just because they want the status badge. I want, I want to like I want to have a good career to look good. And I think there's something to that. Like, if you really care, like, yes, I want to look good because, I want to be respected and stuff. And I think that's great. But I think if you're doing it always without that inner connection to that dignity we spoke about, like if you're not connected to yourself, then you're not owning it at all, I don't think.
So, Shamas, how would you own your career? What would you do?
Me, right? So, for example, like if you're going to be an entrepreneur, right? If you're working for yourself, you treat this like it's your job, right? Obviously, I know that's gone and said, but you're doing it like it's a role, and you're just, you're really trying to push the barriers, and you're trying to really, give it your all in the face of like the unknown. So you always are having hope. I think hope is such an essential ingredient for a career. Or and I could tell when careers were not working for me, because this hope was hit, because I wasn't really bought into the career. So I was like, actually, secretly I want this to fail, because this isn't actually my career, right? And I feel like I used to do that a lot. I used to be like, I don't really care about this course, so I'll phone it in, right? Because I care. I like the social life, right? But I'm escaping constantly because I'm not. That's not my career, right? But I think when you're not escaping your career, and you're plugged in, and you have hope in the lows, that's when you know it's a good career, because that's like when you're really going to show up. Because like if someone like gives you a really hard time in like I don't know, if like for example you're doing the coaching stuff, and you just get thrown off, like let's say the video doesn't do well, or or I don't know, like a client, you just have a really, really tough client, and they just say, I'm never going to get, I'm never going to see, or whatever happens with you, you're going to just phone it in. You're going to be like, that was too hard. I'm going to go back to something else. Right. But if you have the hope in that pain, and you carry on, I think that's when you know you've hit the right spot.
Excellent. I just realized, Shamas, that our viewers, they don't know your job title. And and nor do I, because when I asked you, you said, stop scrolling, start thriving.
Yeah.
But would you like to tell our viewers your job title? What do you
Yeah.
do?
I mean, I call myself just like a coach. Like I call myself, I mean, I don't mind the word life coach, but I just prefer coach. And I'm really there as as a guide, right? I'm there as a guide, and I'm really there to help you really thrive, and try to cut out your escapism, right? I'm trying to get you to become the anti-escapist, right? I want you plugged in fully. Whatever that is for you, that's really my job title. I mean, life coach. I've done the CPC coaching certification. That's really my job title.
I like your approach to that because it's not in the name, it's in the depth of what you do.
Yeah,
And what you do involves bringing out the best version of everyone who comes into contact with you.
Yeah, and
Yes?
it's exactly, but it's the people that resonate, right? I have like no problem like with like saying no to someone we just don't resonate with, right? I really like I want someone to be there for themselves, and but I'm happy to bring it out of someone who really wants that change. Like I don't force clients to do things. I don't even like I ask them, I try and dig deep, like what do they actually want? And I give suggestions because a lot of people ask me like, oh, like, what could I do? So then I offer suggestions on this niche because I know how to come out of it. But I also there's so many ways to do things, and I think people are very creative, but they've lost that connection to their inner voice, right? If it's an inner voice coach, if you want to call me that, then go ahead. But it's it's trying to find that voice because it's been so doctrinated by other people that your voice is not your own. Your voice is your parents. Your voice is the your favorite politician. Your voice is your favorite guru. Your voice is a character in a film. You know, there's people that just have quotes all the time, like just quote after quote, and like those are my voices. But you'll be probably looking at some of them. I don't actually believe that quote, even though some really smart philosophers said that. I don't actually believe in that quote. So yeah, inner voice. Try and listen to that
I
if you have the
really
courage.
love the sound of that, Shamas. Inner voice coach. I think that's the
Yeah.
first I've heard. Really.
Well,
Yeah,
it
and
came to
why
me just
not?
now.
Now, you've talked about your career for the past, say, 40 minutes.
Wow, it's gone
How
by.
do you feel? How do you feel talking about your career journey and the decisions you have made? How does it make
Hmm.
you feel?
Well, I think it's been a journey. That's really the main take. And I want people to be very clear. Like there are ups and downs in this journey, like plenty. Like I felt lost a lot. I'm not one of those people who felt like, oh, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. Right. There was a lot of lost periods. Like I don't really know what I'm doing. I kind of followed, at times I followed away from my path, if that makes sense. Like I moved away from it, trying to fit in or, trying. And then every time there was like a problem in my gut, in my heart, I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. Um, so I want to just make it very clear that it's not like a linear path. And I'm still learning. Like I'm so like in the weeds still, like I'm still growing and, and I'm still evolving and there's so much more for me to do. To really keep growing because the sky's the limit. And I really I had to make terms with this. So I'm going to use a Lord of the Rings analogy. So there was a period of my time where I just wanted to throw away. I wanted to be at the end of the story. I wanted to be in Mordor and throw away the ring and finish the whole story. Right? I wanted to be like, yeah, I want to be there, but I was not accepting that I'm still in this beginning section. like, like I'm trying to rush to the end, but I'm still right at the beginning. Like I'm still learning as I'm coaching more and more people the fundamentals of coaching. I'm still teaching, like still polishing things, and I have now kind of come into understanding that I can connect to my end vision, but I can still like I can connect to him, but I can live in the now. And I can be plugged into where I'm at now. And there's acceptance. And and every time I connect to that higher vision of who I want to be, I'm still grounded in the now. And I'm still in acceptance with where I'm at now. And I'm trying to like understand that every stage has like got its own boss. And I haven't cleared like, there's a lot of learning to still do. And that's like kind of the way for everything's got levels. I know, you're familiar with the coaching levels, right? Level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I feel like that is how it is. Mastery has got its levels.
So you're feeling grounded and very present. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. I'm amazed, Shamas, at the number of deep, deep concepts that you've talked about and the number of metaphors, the number of analogies you've used. Amazing conversation. Now, what's the one thing you'd like to tell our viewers before we close?
Mm. I mean, I would say just, check in with yourself. Like, check in with what you really want. Like, and not just like what you think you want, right? Try and really go deep and say, like, what do you really want on a very, very deep level? And try to give yourself a bit of space away from your technology for a while. I want to see what happens when people step away from the mic and they step away from their phones. And I want you to sit on your bench, on your chair, or whatever, and just sit there for about 30 minutes and see if you start panicking without your phone. And I want to see what kind of narratives are coming up for you when you're doing that. And I want to see if you have the ability to relax on your own without without your technology, and can you be present with yourself and your surroundings, or are you thinking, oh, I need to do that next thing, I need to go and do that? Is that happening quite a lot? Because I just want to see what happens for people. And I'd love people to really check out my stuff. um have a look around. For I'm really excited about the work I'm doing, really helping people around escapism. And that's really the main mission, is like plugging more into your own life, right? Stop scrolling and start living. It's really simple. It's a human experience, and human experience starts with touch, smell, sight, hearing. Get in touch with your senses again, because probably you're very much in your head as opposed to any of your other senses.
Thank you, Shamas, for putting it so beautifully. Viewers, I don't know about you, but I am completely inspired by Shamas. All that he spoke about, all his metaphors and analogies and in depth concepts. If you'd like to get in touch with Shamas, all the details are provided in the description attached to this post. Shamas, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Thank you for your invaluable insights. We really enjoyed having you here.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun.
Till we meet again for the next career conversations.